What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, back to the Less Alex podcast. If you're watching this live, thank you. Thank you. Make sure to smash that like button. And if you're listening to this on the podcast apps, make sure to give me a 5-star review on all the podcast apps. Apple Podcasts, most specifically, no 4 stars, no 3s. If you don't like the content, what the hell are you doing watching? Anyways, we have a really exciting show for you tonight. Today, if you're listening to this, but we have on Andy from the Fantasy Football Card Quest. Andy, how you doing?
What's up, man?
What's going
I'm
on?
doing good. I'm in Tampa, Florida, so there's a hurricane blowing over right now. But if you hear any crazy crashes in the background or anything, just ignore it. It's the hurricane.
Yeah. And if we lose any kind of service or anything, just jump back on your phone. We'll
There
catch
you
the
go.
hurricane in the background as you're running away. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah, there you go.
What's up, Steve? What's up, Gaming God LJ? How's it going? Really excited to have you on. You know, you've been doing some awesome stuff on YouTube. A lot of cool stuff we're going to get into tonight. As always, if anyone in the live chat has any questions throughout the video, feel free to drop them. It might take us lots of rain and wind here, right on, Michael Ham.
Yeah, Michael Ham's in South Tampa,
Oh, okay.
and
He's right in the thick of things, huh?
yeah.
Well, hopefully everybody's staying safe. But no, I'm really excited for this one because, you know, you're taking an interesting kind of look at the hobby. Obviously, kind of your background in sports. You love football, obviously, but how in the world does fantasy football kind of transition over to football cards, if at all?
Well, I mean, that's a good question, Alex. And I think there's a lot of carryover. There's a lot of correlation because fantasy football is derived from on-field performance, and that's
Right.
a big factor, I think, in any sport of what that does to a person's rookie card or any of their cards.
Absolutely.
And so when I look at fantasy football, like when I'm going into my season-long draft at the beginning of the season, every year there's those guys that you get in the 5th, 6th, 7th round of your fantasy draft that go out and then overperform that
Ball
year.
out.
They break out. It's like, where'd this guy come from? You know?
Definitely.
So, when I'm looking at my fantasy metrics, I'm really looking for like doing a deep dive on like athletic profile and looking at what guys had the best hog rate and college dominator rating, how much of their offense did they produce in college, and to get a good idea of what they're capable of doing in the NFL if they ever get that opportunity on the field.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I've never really been a big fantasy sports guy for whatever reason. I think it mostly comes back to the fact that for the last 20 or so years in football specifically, I was a St. Louis Rams fan. And they were hot garbage, obviously, over the last, I mean, for as long as I can, basically since the greatest show on turf. And then more recently, last 3 or 4 years, I've been a Browns fan. So, and my big thing with fantasy sports is I always overdraft. I have dabbled in it. So I overdraft the players that are on my team. Obviously, in football, if you're drafting mostly Browns players, you're probably going to have a terrible time. So I've kind of stuck away from fantasy sports. I've tried some of the daily stuff, but even that, it's just not, it's not as exciting as the sports cards. Because with sports cards, to me, it's something tangible. I can hold it. I can, I can trade it. I can sell it. It's something tangible where, fantasy sports, I understand the allure and I understand why people like it. And obviously there's money to be made, but it's not quite as tangible to me. So it's never really sparked my interest nearly as much. But for those of maybe my viewership or listenership that don't know you as much, if you want to explain what your YouTube channel is all about, I will say, guys, his YouTube channel mixes information and comedy. You recently had a video. We'll get into it a little bit later, but you had a great clip from Back to the Future, and I thought that was actually hilarious. And you've done some other stuff. But if you want to explain to them kind of what your channel's about and what kind of angles you're taking over on your
Yeah,
channel.
man. Yeah, totally. No, thank you. Yeah. And my background is in design and engineering, so I really enjoy the editing and design aspect of my videos. So I have a lot of fun with that, and I have fun entertaining, putting in those entertainment elements into my videos, as well as the information that I'm learning at the same time and sharing with the community. But basically, in a nutshell, my channel is the Fantasy Football Card Quest. And I've been documenting my journey back into football cards in the modern day here, because when I was a kid, I collected in the early 90s. It was super popular. My dad took me to the card shows, but all that stuff got put in his closet. And when COVID hit, my buddy Brad, the comeback card investor, actually hit me up. And he's like, check out these cards that I got of Chris Godwin, because we were talking about Tom Brady signing with the Buccaneers, and he showed me a jersey patch card. I never realized that they had cards with the jersey patch in it. I'm like, this is super cool. Like, where can I check that out? He's like, this platform, comc.com. He's like, you don't even have to. He's like, you could actually buy this card and relist it and sell it online. You could take this whole investing, flipping angle at it, and I was like, wow, that's fascinating. I'm like, so, and I'm very big into fantasy football, and I've really exclusively followed football, and a little bit of golf is probably my second passion, outside of football. But it's been all football for the past 7-8 years, and playing daily fantasy. So every year I'm spending a ton of time listening to podcasts, doing research on players. And I'm like, well, I could just carry over this knowledge and share with the community. And then I realized, holy crap, dude, there's not a whole lot of collection value and investment value for running backs and wide receivers that are studs in the NFL. So I'm like, this has got to change. That was kind of like, so that's been a big part of my mission at the Fantasy Football Card Quest, is to grow the collection and investment and flipping value, throughout the entire season and off season for all football cards.
Yeah, not just the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of my biggest issues with football cards in terms of an investment standpoint is, quarterbacks. That's all that to this point over, obviously the last 6-7 months has been a bit of a different story with the crazy boom in sports cards in general. But that's my biggest knock on football card investing is, man, there's only a handful of guys that I would really feel comfortable putting money into. If you're talking about, this is all we're looking at is the quarterbacks. So I like what you're doing. I definitely think, you can definitely see the design behind your videos. They are funny. If you guys haven't yet went and subscribed to him, go for it. It is in the description of this video. So go for it. And it's in the description of the podcast as well if you're listening to this after the fact. But yeah, man, you're doing good stuff. When did you start your YouTube channel? Because you kind of already answered why you wanted to kind of bring awareness to other position players. But when did you start your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so I got back in the sports card market in March, towards the end of March. It was literally right when Tom Brady signed with the Bucs, and Brad and I were texting back and forth. And then I was so cool. So I was like, there's nothing else to do. I called my dad, and he's like, yeah, I got all these cards sitting here in boxes, so I had thousands and thousands of cards. And Michael Hamm is actually a part of this story, because I was going through all those cards, and I cherry picked what I felt like were the best, like 100 to 150. And then I still had tons and tons and tons left that I was like, I'm just going to sell them in a lot, because I didn't think that they had a tremendous amount of value. but someone else definitely could find some good value in them. And I actually met up with Michael Ham, and he bought them from me. And I think he got a really fair deal, and he probably found some cool cards in there. I know he found one that was autographed to me from by a baseball player.
Nice.
That was on the Oakland Athletics. That was my dad's cousin, Gene Nelson, from the 80s.
Nice.
And so fast forward to June, I that's when I really started diving deep in, because when I first got in, I was went through my old collection. Then I was like buying basketball cards, but I was like, I had no connection to them. I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge around the players. I was literally just buying off of advice that I was getting from other YouTubers and stuff. And I was like, but I'm not passionate about this. I've done some YouTube content creation in the past around health and fitness, and I've always enjoyed creating and designing and building. So my day job as a design engineer in the security technology industry, I'm playing with software all day long. I'm building designs for big businesses. So that kind of like, I want to build something and design something that's around my passion, my hobby, and that developed into football cards and fantasy football. So that started, I think, at the end of June.
Okay. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know how many you had. So you had to have started did you start a new YouTube channel, or did you just? Yeah. So, I mean, you're right around 800 or 900, right? Subscribers.
I think so, man. I think I just passed 750.
Yeah.
So super exciting.
Yeah, man. You're definitely killing it. How's it going, everybody? Onan, bro, Samuel 19. Who else we got? Ziggy, how's it going, everybody? Thanks again for hanging out tonight live. Like I said, this is on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. So kind of multi-stream, and of course it'll be on the podcast apps. But yeah, let me see. So in one of your more recent episodes on your channel, you recently spoke with the CEO of StarStock, and not without giving too much of that entire, because you should go back and watch the entire interview. It's a good interview, but without giving away too much of it. What are some advantages of StarStock, and what is your overall feel for the platform? Because I see you talking about it quite a bit on your channel. I mean, is it safe to say that is your favorite of the selling platforms?
Yeah, it is. Definitely. And once I found out about it, I was a little nervous at first because I had settled in on ComC and they have the actual pictures of cards. Then I realized this is a legitimate company. They've got a secure facility where they're insuring your car. They have, they give you insurance on your card, and they're grading your card when you send it to them, but their fee structure is just so much incredibly lower than ComC or eBay. It's just a 5%. Yeah, it's just a 5% transaction fee, no fee to list your cards, no fee to cash out. And their turnaround time on getting cards listed is incredibly quick. I mean, I'm right now on like 2020 rookies. You could send them in today and they'll have them up there next week this time.
Wow. So what do you think, like, what is the base of people that are using it? Because that's the huge advantage to eBay, in my opinion, and even ComC, is that there are just so many people. If you're in a Facebook group and you ask, hey, what's the price on whatever card it is, you say, the person will generally respond with, check the comps on eBay. And that's just the golden rule, right? And it's basically known as, the go-to in the hobby. But can you tell us, like, how many people are actually using this? Like, is it a reliable amount to actually churn through your inventory? I'm quoting right here, quote fingers for those listening on the podcast, but churn through your cards to keep reinvesting in new stuff. Is there a lot of people, like, are you constantly making sales every day, or?
It's decent. It's definitely not been anything like it was at the beginning of the football season. It was absolutely on fire.
Hmm.
And there was a lot of traffic and hype, and football cards definitely peaked and spiked in pricing there at the
Hmm.
beginning. And I was selling numerous cards every day, probably
Yeah.
a dozen cards every day. And it's definitely slowed down since then, and a lot more of the focus has been shifted to the younger unknown players, a lot of 2020 rookies. So what I'm noticing now is that I'm still selling cards, not as many per day, but I'm still selling cards, and it's more. It's just been more of a consolidated focus on these 2020 rookies, and then some younger players that are just on really hot teams. Like Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
DK's been on fire this season. He's
yeah.
he's a beast.
So albeit it's not been as much traffic as I would like, not nearly as much traffic as I or any of these other guys, these kick-ass guys here in the comments that that I see over on my channel as well commenting.
Yeah.
But that's because they're getting a ton of traffic for basketball and baseball and now soccer. They've added
Yeah.
soccer, so they're getting that as well. And we talked about a little bit earlier, but there's definitely is that no helmet effect in football cards where, because the players in football wear helmets, they get injured,
Yeah.
statistically more often than basketball or baseball. Even though the guys come back, it's like that letdown, especially when week 2 of the NFL, we got hit with, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Bosa, just a ton
Yeah.
of guys that went down. Have a lot of them with season-ending injuries.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's one thing that'll always hamper the football card market. Like you said, the helmets are really a barrier to like expression and really to bolster their overall brands. Obviously, some guys are able to, for whatever reason, whether it's success on the field or like Gronk, that guy's just a character. He's always going to
Yeah.
be relevant, basically forever. So, but yeah, I think that's definitely a big problem in terms of the card market. Because you look at basketball, those guys, there's so many characters, and we know what they look like. We know what Steph Curry looks like, KD, LeBron, all those guys, and they're all, for the most part, a lot of them are outspoken. So I think that definitely helps as well. Um, did the CEO, when you interviewed him, or maybe after the cameras were off or before the cameras were on, did he share with you any like upcoming features that we could, maybe
Actually, there's a big
anything?
upcoming feature that he dropped in the video
Oh
that
wow.
came out. The fact that there's going to be a tab pretty soon on StarStock that will allow you to submit your cards to PSA through StarStock. So any
Nice.
cards you have listed on StarStock, and what I love about this is I can send in my raw cards to StarStock, and they'll pre-grade them for me in a matter of, they're using their naked eye. They're not using, they're using good lighting. They're properly educated on the card, so they're looking at edges, corners, surface condition, imperfections. But they're only spending about 30 seconds on that card, and then putting it in their vault, their process.
Yeah,
But pretty soon there'll be that feature that you can submit to PSA through StarStock.
that's
So
huge.
that's going to
I
be
think that's really
really
big.
cool.
Yeah, I think that's going to give them a leg up on, you talk about other tools. Is there like a tool aspect to StarStock?
Yeah,
Like, does it
absolutely.
have like a graph like similar to
That's
market
another
makers?
thing
Or?
I like about it, Alex, because it's free. It's baked into their software. So if you were to click on a card and a player, you could scroll down and you'll see how many's in their vault, how many's for sale, and then you click on their buyer offer and you can see what each tier, like, people have 3 listed for 5, 2 listed for 7, and
Nice.
then it goes down, and then at the bottom, it'll show you all the sales
Awesome.
history, and then right to the right of that, it puts it in a line chart that's
That's
color
killer.
coordinated, looks like market movers kind of.
Nice. Yeah. So obviously I haven't tried. I feel like I'm similar to you when you just first started using. I'm just skeptical. I the fact that I don't know. I like eBay. I know there's a tons of fees and all that, but the fact that I get to hold on to the cards, I know, you know, from the day I buy it to the day I receive it and the day I sell it, it's all under my control. That's one thing I'm just like, I just I don't know. I'm kind of old school in that sense, but
I get that, and
um,
there's definitely some benefits. Like, so there's some limitations to StarStock. Like you can't sell a Panini Phoenix or a Absolute or Elite Series rookie card because they're really StarStock is focused on the premium rookie sets.
flagship.
And as demand comes in, like they're following social media closely, they're
Yeah,
following the all of sports card content throughout the space and Panini and Tops and so like they added Mosaic, but they're really focused on the premium, the most liquidatable rookie card sets of players. And it's just rookie cards of current players and the most liquidatable sets, you know?
I gotcha. No, I mean that makes sense. Cut out all the fluff. Cut out all the some of the because you see some of these like even Mike Trout cards that are the parallels and the 101s and the 125s. It's overwhelming when you're looking on eBay and there's a lot to sift through. So that kind of cuts out the middleman and really makes it honed in and very
Yeah, and honed in. And so you don't really have to have any knowledge about sports cards. You could just have knowledge about players and
yeah
go on to StarStock and you'll be led directly to buying their Prism rookie card or their Optic rookie card. Now they do accept autograph cards, and if it's an autograph card, then it supersedes the premium set rule. It can be any Panini brand really. If it's autographed, they have other rules for basketball and baseball that I know baseball, big baseball is Tops, right? Tops and
yeah
Bowman.
top yeah tops update just came out and it is hot garbage. I meant to make a video on it, but at this point, I feel like it would be a little bit redundant because everybody knows that it's hot garbage. But anyway, um,
I hope Tops makes a comeback in football, honestly.
yeah, if they get if they, I don't see Panini ever giving up the right, like whatever the price the NFL sets. I feel like they're just gonna get it because that way they can own that market.
Mm.
And the NFL, as we could tell with, I don't know if anybody's a big like Madden fan, but Madden has been garbage for about a decade, but it doesn't matter because the NFL is making a boatload of cash off of it. So they don't really care too much. But moving on, in your most recent video, you talked about online resources for sports card investors. Could you share any of those from that most recent video? Guys, again, go check out the full video because it was absolutely hilarious and very informative. But just for the viewers here and the listeners, if you want to just point out some of the key points in that video.
Well, the best one, dude. The best one is
Yeah, lay it down.
Gray's Sports Almanac. Gray's Sports Almanac from 1985. And to predict the
1950 or
outcome.
2000, right?
Yeah.
That one's outdated by now, but
Yeah, it's outdated. It doesn't do anything for you now, but
we
if
need
you could go
01 to
back to
2050.
1985. No, so the first one I showed is right baked into eBay, right? But it's hard to find. There's so many damn filters and buttons to click on eBay. It took me a little while to find this, so I definitely made sure to show that. It's all the way down on the left-hand side. It includes sold items, sold and completed items. But that only goes back 90 days. So my other favorite platform to use when researching past eBay prices to get comps on cards that I'm looking at, whether it's on StarStock or ComC, is pwccmarketplace.com, because you can create a free account and go to their market price research tool and type in your description of the card. And they have a nice little filters there, price and then time slot. and then you could sort by auction or auction and buy it now, and then newest or oldest first, and it has a picture of the card. So if the eBay
Yeah.
seller doesn't list it properly, you got a picture there to confirm what card it actually was. So that was one of them. And then of course I'm using ComC, and the reason why I like ComC just to like as a precursor to my research whenever I pick a player out and then I'm doing research on them, because ComC I can type in their name and then click on rookie card, and it'll pull up all their official rookie cards, and then I can see all of them. Like all of them I can include sold out, and ComC's got so many that they've got everything. So guys like Robbie Anderson or George Kittle, who were either undrafted or taken very late in drafts, or now great NFL players. I'm like, well, what card can I pick from them? Well, I go to ComC, include this sold out. I'm like, oh wow, they actually do have 12 different rookie cards.
Yeah.
And now I can get an idea of how liquid that card was, how many sold on ComC. It'll show me the sales volume, and it'll show me when the best sale occurred.
Okay. Yeah, I've used ComC to sell, or to buy rather. I like it. Obviously they sell on eBay too, so sometimes I'll see something for sale on eBay from ComC and then just go buy it from the website, because then you don't have to worry about some of the stuff on there. But for selling, honestly, it's been all eBay for me recently. But I think StarStock is something I want to try. Admittedly, that's one of the reasons I wanted to pick your brain, just to see your thoughts on it, because I see you talking about it in a lot of videos, and obviously your video with the CEO was kind of eye-opening. But I'm excited for it. I don't know, man. Sit in my car, man.
Alex, they've got a couple more things I really like about them, is that they're very progressive. They're very open-minded. It's a group of young guys that are very hard workers. They're very sharp. Scott's got a background in software development and entrepreneurship, and he's co-founded it with the founders of FanDuel, one of the largest daily fantasy sports platforms. So they've got a really good mindset of how to drive traffic, of how to take feedback from the end users, buyers, and sellers to make the platform better. So they're basically saying now, like, if there's a big enough demand, if he gets enough emails for people that want to add golf cards to the site, they will add golf cards to the site.
Nice. Yeah.
Big enough demand for defensive players of football, they'll do it, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's awesome that they're open-minded enough to actually listen to their users. That's something that obviously a big company like eBay is just like, you're never getting them to change their thing ever, really, unless they want to. But no, that's awesome. The fact that it kind of still is in its infancy as a company, so they're still willing to kind of change directions and cater to their user base, which is really, really nice. So obviously you're mostly focused on football, obviously by the name of your channel. But so far, in sports card investing, but football card investing, what has been the biggest thing you've learned so far from investing in sports cards and investing in football?
Well, particularly investing in football, definitely the fact that hey, what's up, Carter?
Appreciate that.
Investing in football is that, like, there's never going to be a time like the beginning of the season, that hype right before the season starts. Like, that is the best time for us football card investor and flippers, because the hype is just so high. There's no injuries. It's all talk. Nobody's really gone on nobody's been on the field yet and had any type of performance. So definitely be cranking up big time in the off season, getting ready for that initial season spike.
Definitely.
And a big focus on 2020. So, man, it is definitely challenging with football because of the reasons we talked about, the no helmet effect, the popularity and the connection with the basketball and baseball players. But I think as more fantasy football guys and more football fans get into the market, and as hey, more football players potentially
Yeah.
talk about the cards themselves, then we could see more of a fluctuation in spikes, regular spikes throughout the season. Not just the beginning of the season,
Yeah.
because it's pretty amazing how you can watch a guy like Tyler Lockett, for example, go off that Sunday night game a couple weeks ago for 4 touchdowns, and nothing really happened to his
Nothing
rookie
happens.
card prices. You know,
Yeah, that's one thing that basketball cards, this especially this past year when they were in the bubble. I mean, if somebody had a big game, their cards would go nuts. And I think it really is the fact that basketball is the most popular of the big three sports. We saw it a little bit in baseball too, to a lesser extent. But yeah, I think once that starts happening in football, then it's going to be good times. It's going to be great times because that means that the market's going to be really explosive. Obviously, the more sales. That's one thing too. I'm like doing a little bit more research on and actually paying attention to a little bit more is like not only the price fluctuation, but the volume of sales, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and one thing I'll say, as to you being a big eBay seller, is
Yeah.
that so I recently bought some Mosaic. I bought a lot of 7 different Mosaic rookie card 2020 rookies off of eBay. It was a Tua, J.K. Dobbins, and Jerry Jeudy, and some other guys. I sent them into StarStock. A lot of them got StarStock Bs, but I paid on eBay as if they were a premium near mint to mint condition, which would be a StarStock A, but they got StarStock Bs. So, the same is true for buying on StarStock. You can get them sent to you. That's a viable strategy that, can definitely be implemented. You could look for StarStock Bs and Cs and sell them on eBay, because
There's no
they're
grading
maybe,
process.
yeah. It's harder to grade cards with the naked eye on eBay
Oh,
versus when you're on StarStock, they've pre-graded it for you. So I know when I'm buying a StarStock A raw card, that
yeah.
I'm guaranteed that card is going to be a PSA 9 or 10.
Yeah.
PSA 8 to 10 is what they say, but
Yeah.
they're more apt to give you a StarStock B than they are an A, like if they see anything wrong with the card.
Yeah. And that's one thing buying on eBay. It can be rough because depending upon people's lighting and even sometimes just a good photo, sometimes that top part of the card will have a little bit of a glare on it, almost on a lot of top. So I buy a lot of baseball. A lot of tops cards have like a very small glare, and it's really hard to see and tell is this card got a sharp edge or a sharp corner, or is that something maybe that's peeled up a little bit and it's really hard to see, or if the corner's dinged or whatever. And then you'll get it home. Obviously, they send it to you and you're like, wait a second. You go back and you look at the listing. Okay, yep, I see it now. So it sucks sometimes.
Or
Definitely.
like the hair and the lint and stuff on the penny sleeve or the top loader, and you're like, is that the card or is that the top loader and the penny
Yeah.
sleeve?
I always try to take all my pictures of just the card, no sleeves, no top loaders when I'm selling on eBay. So, and I always put see pictures for details because I don't want anybody saying, "Oh, you said it was a near mint," and it's not. Like, look, at the end of the day, I do believe it is on the buyer. That's personally my opinion. That's why I don't get salty if something's got a ding corner or a nick on the surface. But yeah. So, what are you currently investing in? Share a couple of your picks. I know some people definitely want to hear about that.
Yeah, sure. So, I feel like right now there is definitely some correlation between daily fantasy and football card investing, because when you're going into a daily fantasy DraftKings, for example, tournament, You want to pick guys that are lower owned compared to the rest of the field, but that are going to overproduce. So, same thing with football cards. If everybody's on DK Metcalf, his cards are going up and up and
Yeah.
up, which is not necessarily a good time to buy. You want to buy a guy that is good, but that hasn't quite just broken out yet. He's not as highly owned, but he's still really good. And people just somehow, it's a little tricky because I'll just use Terry McLaurin as a great example of a guy that I'm investing in right now. His
Mhm.
cards are starting to go back up, but there's a lot of sales volume
Sure.
around his Prism rookie card on StarStock. And so you can probably buy his StarStock A Prism rookie card for around that $10 to $12 price range. I was buying them around $5 to $8 just a couple weeks ago. And he's on the
Nice.
Washington Redskins football team, whatever you want to call them these days. And
The no names.
yeah, the no names. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, and their quarterback situation is not great.
Yeah.
But they've got a huge target consolidation there. He's an incredible athlete, great speed score. And so he's an example of a guy that I'm investing in, and I'm fine holding on to his card long term because one of the things I look at is age of a player. So I like to correlate
Definitely.
age. I like to correlate their athletic metrics like their catch radius and their speed score, which it takes their body weight and height into account with how fast they run the 40-yard dash.
Oh wow.
Because these guys could get traded in a year, and I mean, he goes to the Green Bay Packers, or he goes to, the Philadelphia Eagles, who desperately need wide receiver help, you know, and then his cards prices are really going to go up because that's a much bigger market team. It's a much more popular team.
Yeah, that's one thing. Trent, the thing about it in baseball terms is like you got to, of course, look at their age, but also I looked at, and I like to call it like their trajectory to the Hall of Fame. If somebody's, 34 years old and doesn't look like they're going to make it in the Hall of Fame, obviously this might be a short-term flip. But if somebody's, like Ronald Acuna, 23, 24 years old, popping off, pretty much owning the hobby, then we're pretty safe to call that a long-term hold. And looking into the analytics, I don't even know what you just said in terms of the football analytics, but in terms of like baseball, I'm very familiar with most of the the stuff. Hey, what's up? Come back, Brad's on. So what's up, man?
No.
But yeah, I think that is just about everything I had for you. If you guys want to have any questions that you have for us, feel free to shoot them out now because we are approaching the 40-minute mark.
So one additional thing I'll talk about when looking at fantasy football, Alex, and comparing that to with what cards you should invest in, is dynasty rankings, because dynasty rankings are taking these athletic profiles, their age, their team scenario, their amount of targets, the amount of air yards that they're getting, so the amount of routes that they're running, where the QB's targeting them. And so a great example of this is my guy here, Carter Bryant, mentioned DJ Chark, incredible athlete there on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he actually had a really good week this last week. Carter wrote me a note and said that Gardner Minshew is killing his shark stock.
Chart stock. That's funny.
But this guy, Jake Luton, who's another 2020 rookie, which I'm sure we've seen a bump in his prices here the last week or so. These guys that we don't know anything about that are coming out, and then if you really want a good solid long-term investment, you're okay with holding it, look at dynasty rankings.
Yeah, and that's for basically long-term, right? That's like their entire career, basically.
Yeah, it's their entire career, because in dynasty fantasy, you're drafting do an initial draft, and then every year from there on out, you just draft out of the new rookies. So
Yeah.
it's like a franchise story mode of Madden where you're, yeah.
But probably more enjoyable.
Yeah, there's real money involved.
Gaming God LJ asks, "Hey Andy, what do you think about Miles Sanders? His prisms at StarStock A is $10."
Miles Sanders, dude, Miles Sanders has been solid for me. I think I know, man, the problem with Miles Sanders, he does have a little bit higher injury volatility, but he's on a big market team in the Eagles, right? They don't have a lot of weapons there. If he's not targeting Travis Fulgham, who I like, Jalen Rager's a nice little rookie there, but Miles Sanders is definitely the all-purpose go-to running back in Philly besides Boston Scott is his backup dude there. But for $10, that's not bad. That's not bad, man. StarStock A Prism rookie card for $10. I wouldn't like put all your eggs in that basket. If that's like
Yeah.
if you've got $10 to spend, I would go and see if you can, look at some of these 2020 guys like Justin Jefferson or there's another guy I was actually looking at earlier. What was his name? Well, so I asked my buddy Carter about Jacoby Myers because Jacoby Myers is on the Patriots and he got targeted a lot last week. Had a kind of a breakout game there. In the news, they were saying, oh, this is like everything the Patriots fans wanted in N'Keal Harry. They've got in Jacoby Myers, but I don't know if it's just a decent wide receiver in a bad spot there because it's like the Patriots are kind of not so great this year without Tom Brady.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Are you still trying to find him or?
Oh, well, so I was just gonna do a find. Hold on, give me 1 second. I want to pull up Miles Sanders because I've got my my data analysis pulled up here. It's not bad. I mean, so Miles Sanders is only 23 and a half years old. His speed score is not like the highest. It's 103, which is not terrible, but 103 is going to rank you like middle of the pack, like kind of like middle of the pack.
Pretty
speed
average.
score. Breakout age was 21.4, so that means at 21.4 years old, he equated for at least 20% of his offensive production. And so that's not very good. Like that's older than most phenom, what we consider phenom. Like Saquon Barkley's breakout age was 18.6.
Nice.
Just to give you a comparison, Todd Gurley's breakout age was 18.1.
Yeah, Todd. That was like he was the last St. Louis Ram, really, that when they moved, right? Jared Goff, I don't have any kind of feelings about, but yeah, man. Todd Gurley and Aaron Donald were like the two players that I was like, I still kind of want to root for these guys, but at the same time, I can't mess with any team that's owned by Stan Kroenke. Robo Token asks, is there collectability in football cards that are non-NFL? I mean, like college cards or college cards. I mean, I knew they made XFL cards, but the XFL kind of died.
Yeah,
it's hopefully coming back, but I mean, I would think probably not. I mean, even with NFL players in their college uniforms, typically, isn't it like basketball where as soon as the prisms come out or as soon as they has them wearing their NFL jerseys, they basically drop in price, don't they?
Yeah, they do. That's definitely what I've seen when I did my research going back to 2018, 2019. Looked at Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield. It happened to both of them. And then I definitely see that happening again. However, as my good friend there, Carter Bryant, he's covers LSU football, does a tremendous job of it. LSU's team last year was the best college football team, in his opinion, ever, but definitely the best LSU football team ever.
Yeah.
And, Joe Burrow broke records and won the Heisman Trophy by the largest margin in college football history. And so, there definitely could see like that hold value long term, and that the Joe Burrow, the Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the Justin Jefferson in the LSU uniform.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Joe Burrow, I mean, so I'm a Browns fan now, but man, Joe Burrow is a hell of a football player. And he seems to have, like, he's not starry-eyed, right? He doesn't care that he's on an NFL team. Like, it's just, this is what he does now, and he's just gonna be a stud, it seems. So,
Yeah.
what's up?
Yeah, he's going to be prolific, no doubt.
I think he's gonna be great. So yeah, guys, I guess if you guys have any other last minute questions here, sling them in. Malone Money Mindset coming in hot here at the end of the show. Appreciate you. But guys, if you haven't yet subscribed to Andy's channel, make sure to do that. Fantasy Football Card Quest is the name of it. The link is in the description. It's in the description on the YouTube and on the podcast. And on Twitch, just search up the Fantasy Football Card Quest. You guys will definitely be able to find it. Let's help get them to 1,000 subscribers. Where can everybody find you on Twitter and Instagram and all of those other fun places?
Twitter is at fantasy_card. And then Instagram is the Fantasy Football Card Quest, and YouTube, like you said, is the Fantasy Football Card Quest. And I think that's it. Oh, TikTok, yeah, but TikTok is just the same. Like, I put the video on TikTok. If I do one, then I'll put that on Instagram because I don't, hey.
Yeah, that's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta reuse content. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. No, for sure. But yeah, everybody, thank you, everybody. Make sure to hit that like button if you've gotten any value, enjoyed it at all. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. If you're watching on Twitch, hit that follow button. On Periscope, what's up? And of course, if you're listening to this on the podcast app, make sure to give it a 5-star review. And if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, you got value out of it, you're not yet subscribed, because 60% of my viewers aren't subscribed. So that means you're lingering. You're sitting here, you're hanging out, you're watching my videos. Maybe you're liking them. Maybe you're enjoying them. Hit that subscribe button. You lurker. What are you doing? But thank you, everybody, so much for hanging out with you. Thank you for being on the channel. We'll definitely have to do this again. Actually, is it tomorrow? I'm going to be on your channel. Are we still on for tomorrow, or?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So tomorrow night, Flip Flop, I'll be on his channel. Who knows what we'll be talking about? I'm sure it'll be fun, though. Yeah, exactly. Let's get Andy to 1K. Exactly, Power Hour. I appreciate you all, though. And until next time, keep cracking packs, keep collecting. I will see you all in the next one.